follow-up video. As you'll probably recall from the previous video, it looked like I was going to have to work inside the case rather than outside of it for the initial part of the build. It looks like it's my hand is going to be forced on that. I've been tinkering around for the last couple of hours to see if I can get it, there's a way for me to work on the board when it's outside of the case rather than to have to work within the case. The simple reason for that is just far easier to work when the motherboard is outside of the case. You've got more space to work. But I think, as I said, my hand is going to be forced by this. Because I've gone for an all-in-one cooler. On the one hand, it's simpler. It's what is known as plug and play. So obviously you install your radiator, you install your fans, you install the CPU header, turn it on, away you go. The downside is, of course, is that you can't shorten anything, you can't lengthen anything, and in there lies my problem. The case I've gone for is a full tower chassis, so it's the biggest case that you can get. So it's got the most, the biggest dimensions, and it's got the biggest, or the largest, I should say, number of expansion options. And that is what I've discovered is the problem. So if I grab you for a second, I'll show you what I mean. So just about this. So I say I've done a bit of tinkering over the last couple of hours. So you can probably see that. So I've got my radiator installed. There it is at the back here. Got the first fan installed, using it pretty much as an anchor. Yes, I know it's the wrong way around. At the minute it's pulling air out of the system when we want to pull air into the system to cool the radiator down. But I'm just using it to hold everything in place. So obviously with an all-in-one unit, the hoses connect from up here and then run through to your CPU cooler, which is just about there. So, if I can get it in focus, that would be good. So, over the last couple of hours and tinkering and changing things around, and the only way, put that screwdriver down for a second, the only way I think I'm going to be able to make this work is, I don't know if you can see that, just about, but you can see I've got no choice at the minute. Just put that over there, I think. No, can't see a thing there. Oh, you can. So, what I've had to do is, if I can just get a snapshot of that, you can see where the hoses are, the two hoses leading to the pump head. But at the minute, it's being squeezed in between the chassis, or it will be, in between the chassis and the motherboard, which is not really the way I wanted this build to go. But, I think we might get away with it, because I can, I'll bring that around here, I can locate that pump head over the CPU. My only concern will be obviously crushing those hoses, which is what you don't want to do. So initially we're good to go. So obviously I've just had to put the godlike in. I haven't screwed it down or anything like that. I have to see how much play we've got once we bolt everything down. I mean, I tried sort of numerous things. There's lots of expansion options here. I mean, obviously all of these holes here are for your hoses and cables, but because of the length of the hoses, because obviously you've got a finite amount of hose in between your pump head and your radiator, and that's what you've got to work with. So that's what I've had to work with.
So we might just get away with it. If I can find a way to secure the motherboard without crushing the hoses, we're going to be good. But of course I have got the option. I can just move that way. Can't quite see it there. But there is, you know, part of a chassis here. So if worst comes to worst and they are being, you know, squeezed, I could get myself a, you know, junior hacksaw and take out, you know, 5mm, create myself a little trench for the hoses, which will relieve the pressure between the motherboard and the chassis. So, you know, don't really want to do that. It's not a hard job. So, if I move you back over here. So, you know, in a way, it's not really ideal, but we'll give it a go. Obviously, you know, at this point, I've got no choice but to work on the motherboard while that's in the case. You know, the saving grace, I suppose, is, you know, the fact that it is a full tower case, so I have got room to manoeuvre and move and put the black plate on and things like that. So I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to go for it and see if it works. I think it will. We're just going to have to watch, you know, how compressed those hoses become when they lock everything into position. So I'll stop there and start getting some things together.